All right, everybody, welcome to Fantasy Football Live with the Fantasy Sports Boss. It's week 12 already, Fantasy Football Friday. Can't even believe it's week 12 already, and certainly coming off of Thanksgiving, a triple header that showed some very competitive football. It's been a very good start for many, at least, for a very crucial slate in the fantasy football world as the playoffs start to beckon, the playoff weeks, which generally for most people start after week 14. So we are in crunch time. Wins are at a premium, and certainly a lot of news today that we're going to discuss, go through the final injury report. I'll also take your questions from the chat like I always do. Before I go any further, make sure you hit that subscribe and also bop that like button for me. And also hit the notification button so you're made aware when new videos are added. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving certainly was a great day for me. I hope it was as well for you. And we had, like I said, 3 very competitive games, wrapping up with the Minnesota Vikings defeating the New England Patriots in a surprisingly high-scoring game. And what was interesting about that one was the Jakobi Meyers situation. So I'm not somebody who gambles on over-unders and things like that, but it was hard not to follow the fact that Jakobi Meyers catches a 32-yard pass, I believe, right out of the gates, and then he gets injured. And then he's looked like it was a shoulder, possible concussion, a various amount of things. And right away on Twitter, the people who bet the over on 40 yards for Deebo Samuel were saying that DraftKings should immediately refund the money. He got hurt on the first play of the game. And then he winds up coming back and catching another pass right before halftime. So that null and voids the DraftKings situation in terms of possibly reimbursing people who took the over with Jakobi Meyers. And then he gets dinged up again and he leaves the game. Now, in the second half, he only was coming in on third downs, like must-have obvious passing situations. And it looked like it was a completely lost bet. Twitter backers of the over with Meyers is 40 yards receiving were going ballistic. And then what happens? The very last play of the game, Mac Jones throws over the middle. Meyers catches the ball, puts him over the 40 yards. And those who took the over wound up cashing. That was wild. And like I said, I was watching I thought it was pretty entertaining from that vantage point. Anybody who took the over with Meyers had to literally wait to the very last play of the game before they were able to cash that bet. And it just goes to show you the fickle nature of betting, like over and unders and things like that. And that's what, like I said, I don't bet, totals or really, anything for that matter. I'm just strictly fantasy football. But I could see where you could, lose your hair real quick. Taking part in those. Amon-Ra season. Yes, Baba Fett, it is his season. He did catch a touchdown pass for the first time since I believe week 1. But he's like Keenan Allen reincarnated, a younger Keenan Allen in terms of Amon-Ra St. Brown, getting a lot of receptions on a weekly basis and a decent amount of yardage. And yes, also Rachaad White season. I just released that video before I came on here. Leonard Fournette is listed as doubtful. And when you have a player that's listed as doubtful, there's almost no chance they're going to play. So Rachaad White's season is here. Third-round rookie out of Arizona State who came into the NFL with a reputation as a supreme pass catcher, a la Alvin Kamara. The two players are very similar. They have very similar games, similar speed, similar, cutting ability. So if you were looking for the next Alvin Kamara, Rachaad White will be that guy. And, of course, he rushed for over 100 yards his last game against Seattle when Leonard Fournette first injured the hip. Fournette's not 100%, and Todd Bowles said he was not going to play him if he's not 100%. This could also be Bowles wanting to take a look at White because he was the head coach that made the final call on drafting Rachaad White in the 3rd round. So he's more wed to White than he is Leonard Fournette, who was, a Bruce Arians guy. So, listen, it is definitely a league-winning situation here with Rachaad White. If he can hold this starting job for the rest of the season, we could see some big-time results for sure. And again, everybody that's just jumping in, make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. Also, once the chat starts picking up and I miss your questions, just post it again, or you could use a super chat, which will put it in bold, and I won't be able to miss it then under that point. Because I know the other night it got very busy in the chat. I missed a lot of questions, and I apologize about that. Sup, boss, full PPR, start Treylon Burks or Kyren Williams. I would start Treylon Burks, Gerard. Not ready to jump on Kyren Williams just yet. I want to see what happens this week. And really, honestly, there's, you shouldn't really be playing any Rams player with Matthew Stafford being out and Cooper Kupp as well. I think both guys are just going to be completely shut down anyway. Pick one, Juwan Johnson, Gerald Everett. I'm going Juwan Johnson. Everett's been nicked up for a while. Juwan Johnson, I mean, if you look at his numbers, he's been very effective. He's been especially effective around the red zone, catching a decent amount of touchdowns. So Juwan Johnson's been quite underrated this season, in my opinion. Gus, Sutton, or Pierce PPR flex. Not going to go Gus. I would go Pierce. I just don't want anything to do with the Denver Broncos offense. So I would have to go Pierce by default, but I think he's hitting the rookie wall, just like Saquon Barkley is hitting the wall in general from all the work that he's gotten. And I talked about that with a crisis point video earlier today, and I stand by that completely. And this is coming from a Giants fan. Barkley looks like he is on fumes right now. He's got no burst in his legs. The offensive line is a mess. 3 out of the 5 starters for the Giants were out of that game against Dallas. They put up a good fight in the first half, but they were getting nothing from Barkley, and opposing defense is just going to stack the box every week. So if you own Barkley, it might be a rocky finish to the season. PPR star Christian Watson or Miles Sanders. I'm going to take a shot with Watson just because Miles Sanders has been sort of faded out the last couple of weeks. So just based on who's hot and who's not, I'm going to go with Christian Watson. You're welcome, Anti-Sly. I appreciate that. So as far as some of the other injury news, and like I do every week, I'm going to go through the injury report and other questions you have just post. So Deebo Samuel's listed as questionable with a hamstring injury. He's been dealing with hamstring, soft tissue injuries forever. He's on the right side of this one in terms of playing. I think he's going to be okay. And it was really good to see Deebo put up a good effort last week. Now, Brandon Ayuk caught 2 touchdown passes, but he only had two receptions in that game against Arizona. And I was genuinely concerned that Samuel was going to be the 4th option in the passing game behind Kittle, behind Ayuk, behind Christian McCaffrey. At least for one game, though, those fears have been remedied at least a little bit. Rondale Moore has been ruled out. So Rondale Moore with a groin injury has been ruled out. Greg Dortch is going to be a game time decision. So all of a sudden, AJ Green, if you're in a deeper league and you really need some receiver help, AJ Green, he could work at least for a week. They're playing the Chargers. There's going to be a lot of passing in this game. Kyler Murray is going to be back, so that's good if you're a DeAndre Hopkins owner. Having him back, and Marquise Brown will also return. So if you're a Marquise Brown owner, you've been waiting all this time, you're going to get him back this week as well. Pick one full PPR: Jamar, Rachaad White, P. Ryan, DPJ, and Sutton. I would have to say that's a tough one. Full PPR, Jamar, Rashad. I'd have to go Rachaad White just because Rachaad White has been, fairly impressive whenever he's gotten an opportunity. With Leonard Fournette limited or dinged up or whatnot. So listen, he's going to get a lot of carries, a lot of high amount of workload this week. So I'm definitely going to go with Rachaad White there. But those are some good options. Now, Mike Williams has also been ruled out. He's not going to play. He re-aggravated that high ankle sprain. He's going to try to get back against the Raiders next week. So like we've done with Joshua Palmer throughout the season, rinse and repeat. You start Josh Palmer whenever Keenan Allen or Mike Williams are out. And that goes once again for this week. And I was really happy to see Keenan Allen. He had a good game last week. He looks like he's okay with the hamstring for now. He's already re-injured it twice. So, that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on going forward. Standard redraft traded JT and Amari for Justin Jefferson, left with ETN, Jeff Wilson, Pacheco, and Rachaad White at running back. Thoughts? Listen, Justin Jefferson has been amazing all season. He was unbelievable again last night, and so was Adam Thielen. So, concerns that Adam Thielen would be left behind when TJ Hawkinson arrived, those have been completely dispelled. He remains a big red zone target for Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins was fantastic as well. Surprising the amount of points that were scored in that game. I think, you traded a lot. JT and Amari Cooper, don't forget Deshaun Watson's coming back, and Amari Cooper could be a low-end wide receiver 1 with Deshaun Watson. So you definitely traded a lot. You have ETN, who's fantastic. Rachaad White could be really good. Wilson's doing the job. So, Michael, it's not the worst thing. I think he gave up just a tad too much. But again, you got the number 1 receiver in football. And those people who decided to take Justin Jefferson ahead of Cooper Kupp, that now looks to be the right decision there with Kupp being injured. So Raheem Mostert, doubtful. That means he's not playing. He's got the knee injury. So, again, Michael, you got Justin Jefferson there. And now you have Jeff Wilson, and Wilson is going to be the bell cow back probably for Miami this week. And it's a smash spot against the Houston Texans. So I think that he's a very strong play this week for sure. All right, Devin Duvernay, hamstring. He's questionable against the Jaguars. Demarcus Robinson is also questionable with a hip injury. So, Robinson, at least in the case of Demarcus Robinson, he was added on Thursday, which is not what you want to see. We're going to have to check this leading up to the game there against the Jaguars. I'm hoping the bigger picture here, too, is I hope Lamar Jackson can just get his head out of his ass and just get his season back on track, because it's been very disappointing. You take out the first month of the season when he was fantastic, 40+ fantasy football points, back-to-back games, and now he's done nothing since. When I say nothing, it's 15 points for Lamar Jackson, which is generally where he's been since September, is way below expectations, way below where he should be. And, the loss of Rashad Bateman, the injuries to Mark Andrews certainly are playing a factor in the disappointing play so far this season for Lamar Jackson. We talked about Leonard Fournette. He's doubtful. So Rachaad White, listen, the Browns defense, they've given up a lot of big plays this season on the ground. So Rachaad White is a must play for me this week. Gus Edwards, questionable with a knee and hamstring. It's been a mess of a season for Gus Edwards as well. If you're Baltimore Ravens running back, physically it's been rough. Whether you're J.K. Dobbins, whether you're Edwards. So Gus Edwards is boring. He's a good runner. He's a decent runner. I wouldn't say he's good, but he's decent. He moves the chains. He falls forward. He generally does well around the red zone, getting into the end zone there. So in standard leagues, he works as a low end running back too. In PPR. He's kind of a borderline flex for me, but he's questionable this week. I really felt like his wide receivers are horrible. Yes, but he also is not running as much either, Keenan. And he looks a step slow to me. I don't know if it's the hip. He's been hobbled by the hip. I'm not sure. But yes, you're right. He doesn't have as many weapons. That goes without saying. Flex Monty, P. Ryan, Dillon, definitely not Dillon or Palmer. Thanks, standard scoring. If it's standard scoring, I think I'm going to go with Palmer. I mean, he's balled out whenever Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are not in there. So I'm going to have to go with Palmer. Jerry Jeudy, ankle, is not going to play. He didn't practice all week. So all of a sudden, Jerry Jeudy's got to even be considered questionable for week 13. That ankle sprain was a big deal. It's now 3 weeks since he suffered it. And the real shame of it all is that Jeudy was really starting to show his ability, being a high round draft pick. It has been nothing but disappointment since he was drafted, but at least this season, early on, he was starting to show some signs of life. Well, that's now on the back burner because of this ankle injury, and it's really interrupting his season and really putting a negative spin on what was shaping up to be a possible breakout campaign. Olave or DK this week? I like DK just because he's always got a good chance to score. And listen, Geno Smith, we can't criticize Geno Smith. He's really propped up Tyler Lockett. He's propped up DK Metcalf. They've been much better than anyone could have anticipated. It was never a question of talent with either one of those guys. It was all about Geno Smith. Was Geno Smith going to be able to handle being a starting quarterback? He has been, and then some. He's been a top 10 fantasy football quarterback this season. Nobody saw that coming. That's one of these things about fantasy football. Sometimes, nobody could see that coming with Geno Smith, and it keeps us all on our toes. Rachaad White or Paris Campbell in flex? Oh, definitely Rachaad White. Full point PPR, 100% Rachaad White. All right, Jamar or ETN at flex PPR. It's a good situation to be in. Yeah, that is a good situation. I'm going to go ETN. Jamar Chase, is he going to be on our snap count? I don't think he will be. But, he hasn't played in a couple of weeks. I think there's rust. So I would go with ETN. Really, ETN to me is a must-start guy every single week. But I will say this: ETN and Saquon Barkley are two severely underutilized running backs when it comes to the passing game. Both guys are really terrific receivers, and they just haven't been able to reach even higher ceiling because their quarterbacks haven't been throwing to them as much. All right, the chat's starting to go a little bit faster. So again, if I miss your question, just post it again. Boston Giants Cowboys game. Why did New York run out the clock in the last 5 minutes while they were down? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Listen, Brian Daboll's got a good handle on this team. I think he was the right coach. They've played hard. They've generally been in every game this season. that game was impossible to watch. I mean, there were stoppages left and right, penalties on almost every play. That crew was horrendous. The NFL should be embarrassed by that crew with all these penalties that they threw. And just guys were going down left and right. I started to wonder if it was like a 90 degree day in Dallas because guys were cramping up, going down left and right. There was no flow to that game. But again, I don't think you can blame Daniel Jones. I don't think you can blame Brian Dable that much because 3/5 of the offensive line was out. The secondary, both starting cornerbacks were out. Like I said, guys were dropping left and right. The Giants had to literally go to the far end of their roster just to put guys on the field. And on that 4th down pass that Barkley dropped, the Giants only had 10 men in the huddle. So, when you start moving down the line in the depth chart, sometimes guys don't know they're supposed to be in on certain packages, or they're just not trained to be aware that, okay, I have to go in on this package. And that's when those mistakes happen. Gino is the man. Yeah, he's been good. He's definitely been good for sure. Can Kyle Allen reincarnate Brandon Cooks from a dead season? Maybe Nico takes it. Yeah, Anthony, it's possible. You never know sometimes how a quarterback change can impact, which guy are they going to target more? Is it Collins? Is it Brandon Cooks? I think Brandon Cooks has checked himself out mentally, so he may not be giving it 100%. I still think Nico Collins probably would be the better option there. Rashad White or Godwin flex. Oh, now that's a tough one. That is a tough one. Wow. If it's PPR, I might lean Godwin. If it's standard, I'm definitely going Rashad White. What tight end do you like this week? Because I think Njoku's going to be on a snap count. I do like Evan Engram. If Evan Ingram's available, I would look at him. He's been generally underrated all season. Even Taysom Hill, again, Taysom Hill season because, he got a decent amount of run last week. We all know he's got a solid chance to score in the red zone because they always feature him in packages around the red zone. And Dennis Allen did say publicly this past week that he is cognizant of the fact that he needs to use Taysom Hill more, and that's what you want to hear. What current have Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, Jimmy G, who will be the best rest of season? Best rest of season to me is Deshaun Watson. All right, so let's get to Justin Fields. So I don't think he's playing this week. He's listed as questionable. This could go right up until 11:30. When the final active and deactivated players have to be sent in. I'm not playing Justin Fields this week. They're playing the Jets defense, which is a very legit unit. Keenan Williams has been a force in the interior of that defensive line. The secondary has got 2 shutdown cornerbacks. Sauce Gardner is going to have Darnell Mooney. So Darnell Mooney is not going to be a factor this week, folks. And remember, always look to see who Sauce Gardner is going against. Darius Slay, Patrick Surtain in Denver. Those are the guys you got to see who they're going up against because those receivers are probably in for a long day. So I'm not using Justin Fields in both of my leagues that I have him in. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson instead in both. Jackson himself was removed from the injury report. He has a hip injury. Maybe that's part of the reason why he hasn't played as well this season. But Justin Fields, I'm also concerned about the coaching staff dialing back the design runs because, the Bears are out of it. They've had an injury scare with a pretty significant injury scare with Justin Fields. So it would be coaching malpractice if they continue to put him in position to take hits, running the football on design runs in a meaningless season where the Bears are just not going anywhere. So I don't think, and that's going to take away a lot of the appeal for Justin Fields because if he's not running the football as much, then he's not going to accrue as many fantasy football points and have that vast upside that he's had the last couple of weeks. Got the Jets defense right now. Chiefs and 49ers are on waivers. Which one are we rocking with, Bus? You got to go Jets defense for sure. The Bears, they're going to go with Trevor Siemian. So you got to go with the Jets defense. And if you look, that Jets defense, even though they were horrendous last season, they've been very good this season. What's up, Start Campbell? How you doing, Carlos? Start Campbell or Pierce? Flex. I'm going Pierce. I still don't trust Paris Campbell. I know he's been good, but I'd rather lose with Damian Pierce, than I would rather lose with Paris Campbell. Made a huge error in sitting Cousins. Yeah, start Tannehill or get Heineke from waivers. I don't like either. I really don't like either guy. I guess you start Tannehill. It's a run-heavy offense. I don't like. It's a tough one. I guess I'd have to say Tannehill, but it's not a ringing endorsement for sure. So Kyler Murray is going to start. We already know about that. Kadarius Toney has been ruled out with a hamstring injury. So what a surprise! Here we go. Kadarius Toney's injured. this is the deal, guys. This is why I didn't go crazy when he ended up with the Chiefs. Of course, anybody that ends up an offensive player that ends up with the Chiefs, it's certainly exciting because of Andy Reid being the coach and whatnot. But yeah, no, not with the injury history that that Tony brings with him. So yeah, not good. All right, Marquise Brown expected to play, coming back from missing a long a month plus with injury. And listen, Marquise Brown was going absolutely crazy, putting up massive points on a weekly basis, sort of like what DeAndre Hopkins is doing now. So I am curious to see what the dynamic's going to be. Is DeAndre Hopkins going to remain the number one target? Is it going to be Marquise Brown, the old college teammate of Kyler Murray there? I'm not sure. I think it's going to be Hopkins, the wide receiver 1. I think Marquise Brown will be the wide receiver 2. And Rondale Moore will be the wide receiver 3 with no Zach Ertz. So I would play all 3 of those guys if they're all healthy at the same time. You think Chase plays this week? I think Chase does play. Whether he's on a snap count or not, I'm not sure. But I think Chase will play. And listen, I think we're in a wait and see situation here with Chase. He very well could start playing this game and feel pain again and have to be taken out. Hip injury is a serious injury. It's derailed careers in the past. It ruined Bo Jackson's career. You talk about an exciting career that got completely ruined by injury. That's Bo Jackson. So I'm certainly not suggesting this is a situation with Ja'Marr Chase, but it's possible. I'd like to see one game before I'm completely comfortable with him. Now, of course, if you own Chase, you're playing him just because he's too much of a big name. He's got too much potential not to play him. So if he's active, which I think he will be, you gotta play him and just roll the dice, and hopefully there's no snap count. Juju Smith-Schuster makes his return against the Rams this week. So had that horrendous that hit last week, or rather 2 weeks ago. Very scary hit. It was a cheap shot, honestly. And that interrupted a really good month for Juju Smith-Schuster. And I've been a big fan of him all along. I'm an apologist for sure. I know I took a lot of heat early in the season when the numbers weren't flowing, but I said, stick with it. Told you all to buy low, and things were really starting to take off for him. And then, of course, he took that hit, which interrupted things. But Kadarius Toney is out this week. We don't know about Mecole Hardman. So Juju Smith-Schuster behind Travis Kelce will be the guy. No Mixon, more passing. Yeah, you know what? No Mixon for sure. And I did another video on that. So Mixon is not playing. He did not clear concussion protocol. So Samaje Perine, who has been, generally one of the best backup running backs in football, will get the start. He scored 3 touchdowns last week. Didn't do much in the running game. It was much more effective in the passing game when he scored his touchdowns. But Perine has shown that he can do the job in the past. So he's a low-end running back too in PPR leagues. He's a flex in standard leagues. I think Mixon will be back next week. But remember, I told you all to sell high off that 5-touchdown game. You talk about a massive outlier. That's what it was with Mixon. I know it's hard to do that, but my philosophy with fantasy football is always project forward. There was no way Mixon's value was never going to be higher. He's getting to be a little bit older. The wear and tear is starting to add up. He's not the most dynamic runner. So I thought that was a good opportunity to try to sell a high on him. But, now he's injured and he's not going to be playing this week. Samaje Perine or Paris Campbell and flex. KJ, I'm going to go for Perine for sure. Tyler Higbee questionable with a knee injury. He did practice Thursday and Friday, so he should be good to go. Sean McVay, whether it's Bryce Perkins, we don't know who's really starting at quarterback right now for the Rams, but I'm not playing Higbee. I'm not playing Allen Robinson. I'm not playing any of these Rams players just because of the risk, whether it's Perkins or whoever at quarterback. I think it's going to be a risky proposition for sure. David Njoku will play Week 12 against the Buccaneers. Is he going to be on a snap count? I don't know. That's a little bit of a concern. So, listen, it's Njoku. You have to hold him. Okay, Deshaun Watson's going to be coming back. Every offensive player on this team is going to get a boost when Deshaun Watson comes back. And it's right around the corner now. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he plays. I'm going to definitely watch that first game when he comes back. He's talking about Deshaun Watson, he is a top 5 fantasy football quarterback when the rust is knocked off and he's comfortable. All right. So I wouldn't start him that first game back. In super flex leagues, you almost have to. But if you're in a single quarterback league and you've been holding on to Watson, your other guy is just I would wait 1 week and then I would put him out there just to make sure that there's no any rust or whatnot. Let's see. Yeah, so Von Miller did not tear his ACL. Anybody that plays defensive players did, but it looks like he's going to be out for a while. Not a good thing there. Do you think Hunter Henry can become more involved in the offense after yesterday's game? Could be a good play. KJ, it's possible. I mean, I really didn't expect that from the New England offense. You know, Ramondre Stevenson, another 20-plus fantasy football points. I've been ringing his bell all year. Love the guy. Damian Harris gets injured. He's going to be out now, looks like, for at least a week, probably more. So the Ramondre Stevenson season, Stevenson's right there near the top in terms of, the season-altering player. I've talked about DeAndre Hopkins, who, in my opinion, is the biggest season-altering player. He's changed the complexion of more fantasy football leagues, in my opinion, than any other player, just because of the high-end wide receiver one numbers that he's put up. So, since he's come back from the steroid suspension, Ramondre Stevenson is not that far behind just because he's been so good. But yeah, I didn't think Mac Jones looked good. And Mike Tirico was calling the game last night. He said, as long as he gets time, like with Jared Goff, if he gets time, Mac Jones can carve up a secondary. And that's exactly what he did. So, I have Jacoby Myers. I was a little disappointed that he only gave me 9 fantasy points. It looked like he could have had a really big day if he didn't get injured there. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. All right, questions are starting to come in fast and furious now. And to answer your question about Hunter Henry, he's been very inconsistent in the past. It's a good game. I'm not going to read too much into it just yet. Pick 2 wide receivers: Olave, Ayuk, Christian Watson, and a flex: Pacheco, Perine, or Hunt, full PPR. 2 wide receivers: Olave, Ayuk, and Watson. I'm going to go Olave and Ayuk. Because Darius Slay could be on Christian Watson. He's going to eat his lunch if he is. And then as far as the flex, Pirine, I'm going to go Pirine over Pacheco. Would you pick up Dulcich? Just dropped Kelsey. I've got Moreau, Ingram. I think Ingram's fine. Tight end's been tough. In my one league, it's been a nightmare. I have Travis Kelsey in the one league I'm doing really good in. I'm 9-2. Look like I'm going to be 10-2 now. I had a really good day on Thanksgiving in that league. But I've had Travis Kelsey, and Schultz is my backup because somebody dropped him. Well, in my other league, where I've had a lot of tight end trouble, I had Taysom Hill and Dalton Schultz, and up until recently, Schultz was, really struggling, not doing much. I don't think you need to pick up Dulcich, Duvernay. I think you're fine with Ingram, who I actually really like. I have Isaiah Spiller, I have Eckler. Just in case something happens to him, do you think that Spiller would step into Eckler's role? Would be committee? I think Spiller would. Listen, they used a high draft pick on him for a reason, so that's why they got him. So I think that Spiller would be the guy for sure. Should I trade Saquon and Deshaun Watson for Ayuk and Lamb, full PPR? I'm 4-7 to make a move at wide receiver. Yeah, I would do that. You don't need Deshaun Watson. Saquon is on fumes. Lamb has been fantastic, and so is Ayuk. So if you need wide receivers, Adam, I definitely would do that trade. 3 players that's been killing me half the season: Mike Williams and Kareem Hunt. God, yeah. Listen, Mike Williams, it's just an issue with the injuries. I had no problem with him playing time wise, ability wise. He's been, he's Mike, we all know he goes up and down like an AJ Brown from game to game, but I think Williams is fine. DeAndre Swift is the biggest disappointment. Kareem Hunt, he's been a committee back since going to Cleveland. So while it's disappointing that his numbers have taken a nosedive this season, it's the loss quotient, if you will, on Kareem Hunt is not as significant as it is with DeAndre Swift, who is actually falling behind 2 running backs now, Jamal Williams and Justin Jackson. I mean, just ridiculous. I mean, he can't get a break. He almost scored a touchdown Thanksgiving. It turned out not to be. He was down to 1 yard line. He dropped a pass that should have been another touchdown. It's a lost season for DeAndre Swift. It really is. I don't think the coaching staff has patience for him. I think they're annoyed about the injuries. Dan Campbell, played through a lot of injuries as a tight end for the New York Giants. Here, he was a really tough guy, and I think he just doesn't like the fact that DeAndre Swift is always injured and he can't really rely on him. Would you have Jeff Wilson or Rachaad White rest of season? Rachaad White. It's close though. Very close, but I think Rachaad White has more natural ability than Jeff Wilson does. Yeah, Dulcich has a good playoff schedule. Thinking of dropping Moreau because, listen, you could drop Moreau for Dulcich. That's true. I don't have a problem with that. If I think Dulcich has been, they have a good schedule there. That Denver offense though has just been a mess all season. It really has. So I don't know what to think, going forward there. With that offense. So Darrell Henderson is not going to play, but it sounds like the coaching staff is really high on him. Doug Peterson likes him, spoke glowingly of him. So does it impact Travis Etienne? I think just slightly. It might just take a couple of touches away from him, but not to the extent that it's going to knock him off the running back one perch. Who would you flex this week? White, Palmer, Murray, Hollywood, or Pickens? Not Pickens. Oh God, that's tough, man. Rachaad White, Murray, Hollywood Brown. I would have to say Rachaad White, then Palmer. I just think Rachaad White is sitting on a really big game. I really do. The Browns have struggled stopping the run this season. I do like Palmer as well. I don't know if this is a PPR league, but I think Rachaad White can do it both running and receiving, and that's why I always tend to go with running backs in PPR leagues in a flex over a wide receiver because they can do it in two different ways. Yeah, PPR, Jeff, then I would go Rachaad White. Start White or Pierce this week. I'm going Rachaad White. I'm all in on Rachaad White. So if it's a question of Rachaad White or somebody else that's not like a top guy that's already playing every week, I'm going Rachaad White. So Corey Davis is going to be active for the Jets this week, coming back from his knee injury. That muddies things up a little bit. I've said Elijah Moore. I'm really back in on Elijah Moore now that Mike White is under center because Mike White peppers Elijah Moore whenever he plays. White doesn't really like to throw the football down the field much, so Garrett Wilson might remain a bench guy at best. And Corey Davis, he's a borderline own guy. Like he's a more or less a waiver fringe, back of the roster kind of guy in fantasy football. AJ Brown will play. He did practice Friday. He's sick. Don't know what he's sick with because, COVID is no longer a thing in the NFL because other than, Rashad Penny, who got COVID earlier in the season and actually maybe admitted it and got on the list. I can't think of anybody else, a prime fantasy football guy who's been on the COVID list. I guess it just magically disappeared. So talking about Jacoby Myers, he said the shoulder injury is not a long-term issue. He was in a lot of pain yesterday. So, certainly for myself, I have him in one league. It was, a shot to the gut when he goes out on the first play. And man, that's rough, guys. That you fear that the most as a fantasy football owner when a guy that you're depending on, well, really any player on your team, especially a wide receiver though, winds up going down on the first play of the game. You're like, oh man, I'm definitely going to lose. Right away, you just know you're going to lose that week just because you're going to get a bagel, from that guy that went out early. Luckily, he came back and caught 2 more passes to make it at least a somewhat respectable showing with 9+ fantasy points. But yeah, man, you hate to see that. Pickens, Brian Robinson, Kyron Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Kareem Hunt, pick 2. Got to replace 2 mix. Oh, that's a tough one. I guess I'm going to go Pickens and probably Brian Robinson. We don't know. Mitchell doesn't really catch the ball much. I think McCaffrey would get the goal line carries. So I'm going to go Brian Robinson and Pickens. All right. Somebody gave me a PayPal, another anonymous. I don't know if it's the same person that keeps doing this, but I got a PayPal donation, $10 PayPal donation. So if you're in the chat again, thank you. I've gotten a PayPal donation from an anonymous person. The last 3 live streams I've done, I've gotten an anonymous donation from somebody, and always, for $10. So if you're in the chat, totally appreciate it. Never expected, but certainly appreciated. And we got a super chat from Stephen Drakes, $4.99. Thank you, Stephen. I really appreciate that. It does help with the channel. Would you play Rachaad White or Pittman? Also, Dameon Pierce or P. Ryan? Those are very tough questions. I would go with Rachaad White, Stephen, because like I said before, he can do it both in the running and the receiving game. He's coming off a 100-yard rushing game. He can catch the football. That's what he was known for coming out of Arizona State. He's an Alvin Kamara clone. He's got a good matchup against Cleveland, who don't stop the run very well. Pittman's been better. He's been a high-end wide receiver too since Matt Ryan came back. But this Colts offense is still a mess. So I would go with White. In terms of the other choice, Dameon Pierce or P. Ryan. Again, P. Ryan catches the football, and we don't know what Kyle Allen's going to bring. So I would go P. Ryan. I think Dameon Pierce is hitting the wall. So, I know Duvernay just said the same thing. I agree with Duvernay. I'm going to go with Rachaad White and P. Ryan. All right, I just got to scroll up because the chat's going fast. Currently 9. Yeah, Duvernay 9-2. Good job, man. I'm going to be. It looks like 10-2 in this one league, and I'm holding the top spot. I'm going to get one of those buys. And if you have a bye week in your league now, in this one league that I'm in, that I'm going to be 10-2, and Steven, thank you again for the super chat. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. If you could we have 6 teams that make the playoffs. The top 2 get a first round bye. And that's just huge. Having to play one less game and avoiding maybe a fluky result is means everything. Start with Rashad White or Ja'Marr Chase. Now that's a tough one. Wow. 10-team league. Oh man, I am pot committed on Rashad White this week, man. I'm gonna have I think the channel's gonna crash if he craps out this week. I got to say Rashad White again because I don't know what kind of physical condition Ja'Marr Chase is in. Is he going to play every down? A hip injury is a serious situation. So, I think that's a problem. And yeah, Duvernay, I just put your comment through. P. Ryan and White, yes, I would definitely do that. I agree with you with Steven's question. Isaiah Spiller, Cam Akers, and Brian Robinson, which one you hold? I would hold Robinson. I know Cam Akers is probably going to get more of an opportunity, although I still think Kyron Williams. I've been waiting on this one. I just think Cam Akers just stinks. I just don't like him. Thoughts on Jameson Williams coming back from injury? All right, so I'm glad somebody asked me this. Thank you, Grind. Jameson Williams is supremely talented. He's been a hold for me all year in this one league. I can't wait to use him. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the top target for sure. But the Lions have not had a second target since TJ Hawkinson left. So Jameson Williams absolutely could be that guy. You talk about the next possible A.J. Brown, a guy that could take the top off the defense, blazing speed, just a huge, huge problem to deal with. That's Jameson Williams. And again, you all know that I scout players for college, and I do my annual scouting NFL draft guide. That's going to be coming out at the beginning of February probably, so look for that. Jameson Williams was my number 1 wide receiver in the draft last year. Now, I was certainly not going to be I was not surprised that he didn't go number 1 overall because of the injury that he suffered in the championship game. And you talk about bad timing. I mean, that was just rough for the kid. I felt really bad for him. But on talent alone, he was the number 1 prospect for me at wide receiver. And there was no debating that. That's how good he is. That's how skilled he is. He's blazing fast. Good luck trying to stop this guy if he gets a step on you. So in fantasy, I think he could have a big December if the Lions, fully unleash him. And I mean, give him the snap counts to allow him to do that. Is there a more valuable handcuff right now than Elijah Mitchell or Isaiah Spiller? Who else would you try? No, I don't think so. Elijah Mitchell is the top handcuff in football because of Christian McCaffrey's situation, the run-heavy nature of the San Francisco 49ers. So Elijah Mitchell, to me, is the top handcuff. Matt Breida, too. Matt Breida's got some ability. He can catch the football. He's been, a decent runner. Isaiah Spiller, certainly in that offense. Austin Eckler, listen, we got to hand it to Austin Eckler. I didn't think he was going to be able to repeat last season. I thought, you were buying high on him this year, but he's having just as good of a season, if not better, even catching more passes. And he's not the biggest back in the world, but he's been phenomenal. My league has no bye week for the top seed. We play the worst seed and bottom 4 in a loser's bracket for fun purposes. Yeah. We do 6 teams. The top 2 get the bye. I think that's, I think that gives you something to shoot for, and it really keeps the regular season, competitive in my opinion. And in this league as well, this is a really good idea. So I've had the same 12 people in this league for almost 20 years now. And the last place team has to pay for the catering for the draft the following season. So you talk about keeping competitive and listen, there's 12 of us. There's 11 guys and 1 girl. We all eat and drink and all that other stuff. The bill can get pretty high. So you don't want to finish last in this league because then you have to pay for the catering. So I actually did finish last once in the previous 19 years. It was the year where David Johnson completely shit the bed. He was my first round pick coming off that awesome season he had. I'll never forget it. I swore off of David Johnson from that point onward. And he hasn't done anything since that year. But anyway, I had to pay for the catering. it wound up coming out to at least, I think it was like $200 and something when all said and done, between the alcohol, the catering, the food. Actually, it was more like 300. So, yeah, you don't want to finish last. And that was certainly humbling as well. I've heard about all these really good punishments too for finishing last. My favorite one is going to the Waffle House and spending you have to spend 24 hours in the Waffle House. And I think for every waffle you eat, you cut an hour off your time. I don't know if anybody saw that one. I thought that one was fantastic. That was a really good one as well. All right, the chat's really going fast now, so I gotta back up a little bit. And again, if I miss it, just repeat it again or just use the super chat. Okay, let's see. Where did I leave off? Okay. P. Ryan or Christian Watson in the flex or McKeon. I'd have to say P. Ryan because I think Christian Watson could be dealing with Darius Slay. Darius Slay is as good as a cover cornerback in the NFL. So I still think there's a fluky nature to Christian Watson. He's still rough around the edges as a route runner. 5 of his last 8 catches have gone for touchdowns. That's just completely unsustainable. So I'm not as high on Christian Watson. I'm still thinking Alan Lazard is the better fantasy quarterback in PPR leagues because he's going to wind up with more catches. And Lazard was no slouch catching touchdowns earlier in the season as well. I started Tony Pollard, only 8.1 fantasy points. So did I. Figured with Elliott healthy. Listen, they got a good thing going in Dallas. That's a really scary team right now. But Pollard got, I think, like 17 carries, if I'm not mistaken. So he's still got a lot of carries, and the thing too with Pollard, when he gets a handoff, you feel like he's just like one tackle away from going the distance every single time. He's a tough runner. So, 8.1 is definitely disappointing. I think they should use him in space more, throw some dump off screens, and he could really open up some space quickly. They don't do that in Dallas. So that's disappointing, but I think he's an every week guy no matter what. And Dalton Schultz, remember guys, I had said after it was a very rough start with Schultz with the injury, not getting any passes early on, that once Dak Prescott came back, he would be heavily featured, especially in a red zone. And he has been everything that I envisioned there and more in terms of catching all these touchdowns, especially lately. Jameson Williams is free. Him and John Mechie are must drafts next year. Yes, I do agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah, Matt Breida is a good handcuff for sure. A fantasy boss. I'd like to know your thoughts on Pollard. Yeah, Mark, I just discussed it. I think Pollard is supremely talented. I think he's capable of more if they gave him more opportunities to, catch passes in the flat just because he's so fast. But I think the sky's the limit for him. Would you handcuff Henderson or Breida as ETN and Barkley owner? I think Henderson is the better stash than Breida. My team is Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, Amari Cooper, and PI, running backs of Pollard and Connor. And I don't like Connor. Pat Fryermuth's fine. Otherwise, here's Godwin, benches, DPL, Hurst, Kenny, Drake, Dobbins, and Waller. All right, breaking news, guys. This is big. This is really big. Ready for this one? Josh Jacobs pops on the injury report on a Friday with a calf injury. So now he is questionable. So wow, that's big. Holy shit. So Josh Jacobs now is in jeopardy of missing this week. Being added to the injury report on a Friday, bad news. Calf injury for a running back, bad news. Wow. So Zamir White season, I mean, listen, if you're a Josh Jacobs owner and you're in this chat right now, I won't take offense if you need to leave and go pick up Zamir White right now. So Josh Jacobs, that literally just came down the pike. Don't know what to think about that one. Wow. Calf injury's tough, man. I don't know. Yikes. He's got to be considered 50-50 at best to play this week. Anyway, Mark, your team is good. I think you're good there. I mean, Connor's not great. If Godwin's on your bench, I think you could maybe offer up Godwin, see if maybe you can get like an Aaron Jones or a Dalvin Cook. Erwin, how you doing, Erwin? Nice to see you. I started Dalton Schultz, 19 fantasy points. He won my league this year, my champion. Yeah, Death Lord. Dalton Schultz is fantastic whenever Dak Prescott is under center. I still can't get over that Josh Jacobs news. That's big news on a Friday. Making our leagues, making the loser dress up and go serenade 7 girls in the league shows. Wow, that's rough, man. I like that one too. You think Najee getting 27 last week, is he going to get 15 every week? Listen, Jalen Warren didn't practice today, so he's not going to play. I think Najee Harris is going to get a lot of work, Mark. Yes. And I think he's back in the good graces, at least on workload as a high-end running back too. Would you ever have Ramondre Stevenson or Rashad White rest of season? Ramondre Stevenson. I think Ramondre Stevenson, if I had the choice even next season, I would go Ramondre Stevenson. He is a tough runner, man. He does a lot of good things in the passing game. Very quick. Ramondre Stevenson is a real find by the Patriots. Paris Pacheco or Rashad White for flex this week? Rashad White, again, Scott. 12-team full PPR, Lamar, Barkley, ETN. Okay, that looks good, although Barkley's fading. Diggs, A.J. Brown, Engram, Hopkins. Wow, as your flex, Hopkins. Dulcich, Pickens, Monty, Foreman, Watson, moving anything for deadline holding. I don't think you need. I mean, Diggs, Brown, and Hopkins. Jesus Christ, that's a great trio right there. I think you're good. I mean, maybe you offer Barkley around, see if you can get maybe a Dalvin Cook or a Christian McCaffrey. You could do that. Whoever the McCaffrey owner is in your league, if they need a quarterback, you can maybe offer him, or maybe you could offer Monty and Barkley for McCaffrey. But Monty is your backup, Duvernay. So I don't know. I think you're okay. Jeff Wilson, Antonio Gibson, Tyler Lockett. Which two do I start? Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Kinko. Yeah, man, that's crazy. Aaron Jones too is banged up, but he's fought through it. I would go Jeff Wilson definitely because Raheem Mostert is not playing. And then we'll go Tyler Lockett. I do like Antonio Gibson, though. The setup that Antonio Gibson is in right now, I think, is a good rest of season situation. So I think, it took a while for Antonio Gibson to find his equilibrium. I think that, the coaching staff for Washington was really kind of down on him when the season began. But as the season has unfolded, J.D. McKissic, of course, got hurt. That did help things. But I think Antonio Gibson has become more trusted. Maybe they respect his game a little bit more. And listen, he's a supreme receiver. He came up as a receiver. He's a converted receiver from college. I think that Gibson has, shown last season that he has potential as a big-time weapon. Personally, I feel people are panicking on Saquon too quick. He still holds a big percent of touches. In the last game, they didn't run much, plus he caught more too. Yeah, Jeff, I was very concerned about the 35 touches. I thought that was ludicrous to do that. That was the only thing I'm going to knock. Death Lord Mostert is doubtful, and when a player is doubtful, that means they're pretty much not playing. When a player, I've been really high on Brian Daboll this season. But to give a guy who's been oft injured as much as Barkley has 35 carries is complete bullshit. You can't do that, especially this late in the season. So I think that we are seeing a little bit of a bounce from that. He looks a little like he's not that he's lost a step this season. I'm not going to say that, but he looks a little slow to me. I know the blocking hasn't been good because of all the injuries. And now opposing defenses are really stacking the box. Those are all valid points. But I also think Barkley hasn't looked as explosive as he did earlier in the season. And this is coming from a Giants fan who's as big of a Barkley fan as you could possibly imagine. So I think, Jeff, you're partially right. Maybe we are panicking just a little bit. But ever since he had that 35 carry game, it hasn't been good. And I think the Giants they're being figured out that they really just don't have a chance in the passing game. And so opposing defense are just going to continue to stack the box on a weekly basis. If Jacobs can't go, I'm definitely starting Jeff Wilson. Yes, for sure. Hell, even if Jacobs play, I might go Jeff Wilson over him because no Mostert. Listen, it's a valid strategy, Death Lord. Josh Jacobs has sorry about that. I'm sure somebody was calling me. And the person who's calling me is another fantasy pundit, probably talking about Josh Jacobs, which just, now everybody's going to start reacting to that one. But in terms of Jeff Wilson, he's really good, and he's been playing great since he went to Miami. And I've said this before. I think that Jeff Wilson being traded to Miami was one of the most underrated big-time moves any team made, especially with the playoffs in mind. So now Miami, knowing Raheem Mostert's injury history, they have a starting running back caliber player who is really starting to show that, again, the last couple of weeks, when that inevitable injury hits Raheem Mostert, and we know he's a slow healer as well. All right, we have a $4.99 super chat, Erwin Garcia. Thank you, Erwin. I really appreciate that. Need two running backs. Should I start Rashad White, Patterson, Monty, Dameon Pierce, or Connor? Definitely Rashad White. I'm not in on Patterson. There's just way too many mouths to feed all of a sudden in that backfield. Monty's getting a lot of work. That's going to be a little bit of a tough matchup though for him. Not liking that matchup for Monte. Damian Pierce is going to get a lot of work. James Conner. I would say Connor, believe it or not, because he's getting a lot of goal line work. He's been, he looked spry last week. I definitely am going Rachaad White because the matchup is good, and he also catches the football and ran for over 100 yards last week. I'm down on Damian Pierce. I think he's getting tired. So that's why I would say Rachaad White and Connor. Need one wide receiver. Who do I start? Garrett Wilson, no. Burks, Cooks, or Palmer. Definitely Palmer, Irwin, 100%. Josh Palmer. He was fantastic last week when Mike Williams got injured. He's going to be fantastic again this week. Every time that those guys, whether it's Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, don't play, Irwin, Palmer balls out. He's going to do it again this week. And again, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that, guys. It does help big time with the channel. I appreciate that support. I think Darius Slayton is looking decent, so maybe that could help Saquon in the games coming up. But yeah, listen, Jeff, Slayton has done a good job. He kept his mouth shut. Things were a little dicey in the beginning of the season for him with the coaching staff. They were down on him. He almost was even released at the end of training camp, but he's come through recently. Maybe that will help a little bit. I'm not sure. But overall, the Giant passing game is just not scaring anybody. Campbell or Burks and flex. I'm going to go Burks. Burks looks good. Joe. So I really like the way Burks played last week for sure. Jeff Wilson about to solidify himself as a running back one rest of the season. Yeah, definitely. 100%. I definitely see that for sure, that Jeff Wilson is going to be the guy the rest of the way. And I'm really ticked off at myself because I had Jeff Wilson on my bench and I had a little bit of a roster crunch during a heavy bye week on one of my teams and I let him go. And just, it was really bad move on my part. I make bad moves too, guys. That happens. And I did that with Jeff Wilson. You're welcome, Irwin. And again, thank you for that super chat. Very generous of you. Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, and Corey Davis are all available in my league. Is it worth picking up any of them with the Jets QB change? Yes, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and Corey Davis in that order. I think Elijah Moore and Mike White had a really good chemistry. He caught a touchdown pass in that game against the Indianapolis Colts before he got injured. Was good in the Bengals game when Mike White completely balled out. So I definitely would say that Elijah Moore is the guy. This is the week if you're an Elijah Moore owner. You helped me throughout the season so far. Thank you, Irwin. I appreciate it. And make sure you stick with me throughout the offseason. All of you guys stick with me throughout the offseason because anytime any big transactions happen, I'm going to talk about that right away. Plus NFL draft coverage. I know you're all draft fans as well, so I'm going to be going into that as well. Should I start Pittman or Jeff Wilson at the flex? 12-team full PPR. It's tough to pick one. Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson has to be started if Raheem Mostert is out. He catch the football. He can run it. Mike McDaniel loves him. You have to go that way. Need to pick one wide receiver. Olave or Ayuk. Played St. Brown already. Or start 3 wide receivers rather than flex P. Ryan. I like Olave and Ayuk. So I'm good with those guys over P. Ryan. And listen, P. Ryan really didn't run well last week. He did his damage in the passing game. So, that's one thing we have to take in consideration. He really didn't run that well. Yes, actually, they don't have a whole lot of talent right now with the injuries. I also may think that Saquon's situation last game was more of a game script thing. Could be. It was weird play calling though. Even in the third quarter, they were using Gainwell and they were using Matt Breida while with Barkley on the field. It was just weird. If Fields does play, should I rush him, play him, or should I play Heineke? Man, I don't like Heineke. He's not a fantasy friendly quarterback. I still would play Fields, even though I'm very concerned about him going against the Jets. Would you play Njoku or Kmet? I'm playing Kmet, and here's why. I think that Sauce Gardner is going to lock up Darnell Mooney, right? So Trevor Siemian or Justin Fields have to throw to somebody, and Cole Kmet is going to be the next best option. Sauce Gardner is going to absolutely lock up Darnell Mooney. So if you own Darnell Mooney, you can't play him. So I actually think there's a decent chance that Kmet scores in this one, just because they're going to be rolling coverage to Mooney, and I think Kmet can do some damage there. Would you play? I read that one. Tough call between Ayuk or Olave. I like them both. Yeah, I'd say Olave because there's less competition. How concerned are Lamar Jackson owners by now that Ronnie Stanley has been ruled out? Yeah, listen, Eldad, it hasn't been good for Lamar Jackson. I'm not liking the way he's played. I don't know if the pressure of being in a contract year is getting to him. I don't know if the hip injury is getting to him. I don't know if it's the Rashad Bateman injury absence that's getting to him, but he looks nothing like the stud that he was in September, going back to last season. I'm all in on Lamar Jackson, drafting him in both of my leagues. It hasn't been good, but I am going with him this week against Jacksonville. I think it's a really plush matchup. If it doesn't happen for Lamar Jackson this week, then I don't know when it's going to happen, if at all, or Matt Ryan. So, Erwin, Matt Ryan's been good. When he gets time to throw, when they use quick passing game to get the ball out quickly so he doesn't have to deal with the rush, he's been good. So Matt Ryan, I guess, but he doesn't run. That's the problem. And the Fields does run. Not sure how much he's going to run with the shoulder injury. That's a tough call, Erwin. I still would say Fields over Ryan just because of the running aspect of it. Jamar Chase, Michael Pittman, Chris Olave, Patterson, and Christian Kirk. Which do I start? Which three do I start? Obviously, started Tony Pollard as one of my flexes for sure. I would go Jamar Chase, Olave, and Kirk. Thomas or Everett. I'm going to go Everett. Thomas is still banged up, Joe, so I would definitely go Everett. To piggyback off of Erwin's question, if Fields doesn't end up playing, should I start Jimmy G? You're welcome, Blair. Yeah, I think Jimmy G's been good. I mean, listen, he threw 4 touchdowns last week. You're welcome, Erwin. I appreciate, again, the super chat. Jimmy G was really good. And that was scary. That was the 49ers team that I was referencing when I said they could win the Super Bowl this season. And I really, truly believe that. I think the 49ers are that team that nobody, including the Philadelphia Eagles, wants to see in the playoffs. That's how good they are. So, Jimmy G almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs were dead in that Super Bowl. But Garoppolo missed the throw that he should have made, and that opened the door, and the rest was history there. But this is a legit San Francisco team. They're strong along the defensive line. They get after the quarterback. They have a good offensive line. You could make the case that they have the strongest quartet of offensive players in all of football. George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. That is a scary foursome, no matter how you look at it. If Jamar Chase can't go, Patterson or Michael Pittman, forget Patterson. Michael Pittman for sure. I cannot play Cordell Patterson with all these backs that are now getting carries on this Falcon squad. Josh Jacobs' injury report is handcuff worth picking up. Yeah, Zamir White, I think he is. M. John for sure. This coaching staff drafted him, so I would look that way. It's really scary right now with Josh Jacobs being added to the injury report on a Friday. Yeah, Randy, we talked about that earlier. As a matter of fact, as that bulletin came out, we were on. I was on the stream here, and we talked about it in real time as it happened. So I think Zamir White would be the one you pick up. He looks like Isaiah Pacheco to me in terms of a runner. Not much of a receiver, so that's the comparison for Zamir White. Did you say if you would go Pacheco, Rashad White? I'm going to go Rashad White over Pacheco every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Hey, how would I know for sure if my league doesn't have a bye for top seed in the playoffs? How would I know for sure? You look in your league settings, Duvernay. So whatever your league settings say, that is what I would. That's what I would. That's how you determine if there is a bye in your leagues. I'm done with CPAT and the entire Atlanta offense. Yeah, I am too. The entire Atlanta offense, I'm finished. CPAT at least was mildly interesting, even though he wasn't even getting any pass targets. So I'm out on that entire offense for sure. I totally agree with L. Zamar was inactive last game. Doesn't mean anything. I think that if Josh Jacobs were to miss time, he absolutely would play. This definitely bears watching. I'm going to try to see if I can find something on this. With the bulletin there. And again, anytime that comes down late in the week, that's something that you have to think about. Amir Abdullah, he's going to catch passes. If you're in a PPR league, then that would be the option you would look at. In a standard league, I think you're looking at Zamir White. Brandon Bolden is not going to do it for me. I get, again, Amir Abdullah is going to catch passes. So that might be how things get broken up there. Say if you would go, I did. Okay, how would I know? I'm done with the CPAT. Okay, some more was inactive. Do you at least trust Patterson rest of season? If that's, I feel like Kyle Pitts season ending is going to cause defense to stack the box. Death Lord, I'm out on Patterson, 100%. I think Deshaun Watson ranks higher than Geno rest of season. Yes, Bubba Fett. As soon as Deshaun Watson knocks off that rust, he's going to be a top 5 fantasy guy. That's what he's always been, and that's what he always will continue to be. So nonsense. Disgusting behavior off the field aside, that's who he is as a football player. What about we talked about Abdullah, Death Lord, CPAT is done, unfortunately, unless he gets a new coach. Yeah. I think they gave him a 2-year deal. So, I'm not really into CPAT the rest of the season for sure. Voice getting a little hoarse. What do you think about Amari when Watson comes back and Chubb? Okay, Mark, that's going to be really impressive there for Amari Cooper. So Amari Cooper already having a really impressive season, better than myself and many others in the industry could have ever predicted because he was so inconsistent last season, and doing it with Jacoby Brissett. With Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper's value goes through the absolute roof. He is going to be a every week wide receiver 1 with Deshaun Watson. And I think it'll help Nick Chubb as well because now teams have to respect the deep ball because Watson throws a superb deep ball. So Nick Chubb is going to get softened up defensive fronts now, and it's going to be a real good situation for Nick Chubb the rest of the season. Josh Jacobs going to head to IR. I'm calling it, which sucks because I have him. Wow, if he heads to IR, I mean, that would be absolutely devastating. But a calf injury, I don't even know what to think there. So, all right, let me see. I got a little blurb here. He got in a limited practice. So he did get in a limited practice today. Monitor the situation on Sunday. Raiders playing the second window of games, which is tough. Zamir White couldn't inherit Jacobs' work on the ground, but the rookie has been scratched multiple times this year. So there it is. So he did get in limited work today, but a calf is a scary injury for a running back. That's not good. Did he injure it in practice Friday? If he did, then that's a big problem for Sunday's game. Been looking at, do you know what the actual thing is called? There's something called playoff seeding, tiebreaker, and playoff home field advantage. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Duvernay. This playoff seeding type. So the playoff seeding tiebreaker, I guess, has to do with maybe the points scored. I know in my league that tiebreakers for getting into the playoffs and for the higher seed, if you're tied with another player in your league, is the most points scored breaks the tie. That's generally how it goes. So that, you really want to keep padding as many points as you could. Madison running back 1 next year if he goes to another team. 100%. And Madison owes it to himself to go to another team, find a team that needs a running back, and just be that guy because he certainly is capable of that. Alexander Madison, can be really good. Does he end up in Denver? Javonte Williams is not going to be ready for the start of the season. Denver is a possible landing spot for him. I'm trying to think of other teams off of the top of my head. What do you guys think? What are some other teams that Alexander Madison could wind up with? I'm going through it off the top of my head right now. The Chiefs. If he goes to the Chiefs, that would be superb if he goes there. I have 3. If Lamar Jackson sucks the rest of the season, they have Deshaun Watson. Yeah, you're good. No problem there. I have 3 bad choices in front of me. Which would you choose? Allen Lazard against the Eagles defense. Depends if he gets Darius Slay or if Slay's going to be on Christian Watson. Deebo Samuel's questionable. I like Marquise Brown. If Marquise Brown played week 11, he would have been on a snap count. This week he won't be. Rondale Moore is out as well, so they're going to rely on Marquise Brown. That's who I would say. Yeah, I don't think those two are correct. And tiebreaker, the home field advantage is likely add points at a better seed, but I'm struggling to find out if this. Yeah, I'm not sure, man. I wish I could help you more with that. Rams, Ed, that's a good one. The Rams, Madison going to the Rams. I didn't think of that one. That is a very good one, for sure. So I like that one. Actually, that's probably the best potential landing spot for him. Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson rest of season. Oh man. From week 14 on, I would have to say Watson just because Jackson's been so shitty of late that I'd have to say Watson. Listen, we got to remember Deshaun Watson was a top 5 guy his last year. He led the league in passing, for God's sakes, passing yards. I have Zamir all 4 teams. Yeah, I would pick up Zamir White. I would do it right now. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to do that as I'm on the stream with you guys. This coaching staff, when a new coaching staff drafts a player, they're going to be in on him and they're going to want him to play as quickly as possible. And, that's what it looked like it was going to be in the beginning of the season when Josh Jacobs was playing somebody already picked him up. Unbelievable. Oh, this one league. Oh, that was Rashad White, and that's me who has him. I'm sorry. All right, so I'm going to be able to pick him up, and I'm dropping Ben Skoranek. So I now have Zamir White. Awesome. Cool. And that's how you do it. There's a handcuff for you right there. So the handcuff running back strategy just picked up Zamir White. You like Njoku next week? Yeah, I do. Njoku's been fine. And with Deshaun Watson back, he's going to be even better. Prior to the injury, he was a top, 6 to 8 fantasy tight end. He was doing the job. Deshaun Watson hasn't played in 2 seasons, though, so there's a good chance he's not his old self. I don't think so. I think he's getting practice time in. He's going to work the rust off. I don't see that. He's young. He's fine. We picking up Zamir? Boba Fett, I just picked up Zamir. So, yes, go pick him up. Why not? If Jacobs doesn't play, or if this proves to be a serious injury, let's say he got injured in practice on Friday, and this is like a pulled calf muscle, he's going to go on IR. So then Zamir White could be a potential league winner. Guys, make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that notification, and also bop that like button for me, please, those who are coming in. So Aaron Jones is off the injury report. That's good. So Jones is going to play. No issue there. And, as far as the games yesterday, Josh Allen looked good. Overall, accuracy still not there. He's still massaging the elbow a little bit on the sidelines. The cameras caught him doing that a couple of times. But I was very encouraged that he put up a 30-plus fantasy game. Adam, Amir Abdullah is not a runner. He's a receiver. So if you're talking about the running aspect of things, it's going to be Zamir White. Drop Darrell Henderson for Zamir. Yeah, you might as well. Henderson, even as a handcuff, we've seen him play with the Rams and wasn't overly impressive. So with a Sean McVay offense, if you're not overly impressive, I'm not overly impressed. Guys, if DPJ is still on your waivers for some reason, pick him up. He could be a league winner. Last time I checked, he was leading the league. And catch rate is yes, Keenan is right. DPJ could be that deep threat for Deshaun Watson that the Notre Dame kid was with the Texans. And I did this last time. I couldn't remember his name. Jesus, I'm getting old. The Notre Dame guy, the deep threat for the Texans last time. Who was that guy, guys? Remind me again. I always forget. Deshaun Watson looked bad in preseason. My guess is the rest of the season is a wash. But I don't agree, Delj. I really don't. I think Deshaun Watson is going to be fine. Drop Kyren for Zamir. I wouldn't do that, no, because I think Kyren Williams has better outlook rest of season, even if Zamir White winds up starting in place of Jacobs, because I think Amir Abdullah would come in to catch passes, whereas Kyren Williams can run and catch the football. Zamir White can't. At least hasn't proved that yet. Greg Dulcich or Logan Thomas for week 12. I'm going Dulcich. Logan Thomas is just too inconsistent, and I'm not in love in that Washington offense. I listen to you, Matt Kelly. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. I really appreciate that as well. Would you trade Henry, Cousins, and Pittman for CMC, Everett, and Chase? Wow. Yeah, I would do that. I love CMC over Henry. Chase, if he comes back strong, he's better than Pittman. Yeah, who offered you that, Blair? Jeez, I would do that for sure. Drop Kareem Hunt, Akers, or Elijah Mitchell for Zamir. I think Akers or Hunt. I mean, it just hasn't happened for Kareem Hunt. But I mean, the thing is, though, if Chubb gets hurt, Hunt could be great. So I would drop Akers. Yeah, Fuller, that was it. Will Fuller. I just can't ever remember that guy's name. And you know what? It's amazing that he hasn't caught on with anybody. I don't know if something happened that, we don't know, but I know there was that steroids bust. He's injured a lot. I don't know if that's the reason. Rashad White or ETN because of matchup with no Lenny. You still got to go ETN. I know I'm all in on Rashad White, but ETN is just so explosive. You got to go him. It's a trade that I'm offering to another team. Oh, you're offering that trade? Yeah, if you have Henry and Cousins and Pittman, I would offer that and see if he takes it. I don't think he's going to take that, though. I don't see that happening. Would it be Zamir? All right, so Steven, Zamir would be the runner for sure. Amir would be the third down back, the pass receiving back. I think that's how they would divide it up. Amir Abdullah is not really an impressive runner and never has been. Drop Brian Robinson or Christian Watson? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't drop either one of those guys for Zamir White. You said Zamir White in PPR or only standard? Standard. Zamir White for standard. Amir Abdullah for PPR because Abdullah is a good pass receiver. I dropped Melvin Gordon for Zamir in 4 leagues. Yeah, you might as well. Melvin Gordon, we wanted him out of the way in Denver, and it took a long time, but Javonte Williams is injured, so it didn't really help us, unfortunately. So that was certainly disappointing, and that was devastating. I mean, even though I didn't have any shares of Javonte Williams, it was really, really disappointing to see him go out so early in the season when it really was looking like he was going to be that bell cow superstar runner receiver that we all know he can be. And that is a special talent. And I don't even think he's going to be ready at the beginning of next season, which really sucks. The guy trading at this 1-10, and I'm 6-5 full PPR. Blair, try it. If he accepts it, I think you're going to get crap from the league because of that team is 1-10. That's always a dicey situation when you make trades with teams that are completely out of it, like a 1-10 team. There's almost like an understanding, I think, where you don't trade. If you're that 1-10 team, you don't trade with anybody because it's kind of looked at with a raised eyebrow. What's up, Ross? Hey, Michael P. How you doing? Driving but listening. All right. Yeah, we covered a lot already, Michael P. I've been on for over an hour, so this has been a really long stream today. We got a lot of good questions today, some super chats, which were great, helping the channel, and I really appreciate that. So this has been a good one. And Josh Jacobs, Michael, I know you just jumped in. He is now probably looking at it. He's got a questionable tag, but it's probably going to be 50-50 for him to play with that calf injury. Jeff Wilson's game's at noon and Josh Jacobs at 3:05. Chances we find out if he's good to go. Ruled out before. Yeah, usually Ian Schefter, excuse me, I combined their name. Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter usually have that information the night before. Typically they'll have that report even before the 11:30 or the 2:30 updates for the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games. They'll put it out there that they're expected to play, and usually they're pretty much on the money. So Josh Jacobs, you want to play over Jeff Wilson, but listen, Death Lord, Jeff Wilson is going to be no slouch in this one. PPR flex Keenan or ETN. Keenan Allen, I'm still not 100% trusting his hamstring. Appreciate the stream. Oh, you're welcome, Keenan. My pleasure. And I appreciate all you guys for continually to chime in. This channel is growing really fast. And like I said, I really appreciate all that support. And I'm already hard at work on my NFL draft prospect guide. So I can't wait to release that for you guys as well. That will be a lot of fun. So Zamir White, yeah. Zamir White's going to be, I think, the guy, Michael P., just because he's the better runner than Amir Abdullah. And I think the Raiders coaching staff, this is a perfect opportunity for Josh McDaniels to get a look at Zamir White before the offseason. Because don't forget, here's the other thing, guys, and this is the other reason why I like Zamir White, and it makes sense. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option on Josh Jacobs. So that signifies they're probably not bringing him back. So if they're not going to bring him back, you need to know if Zamir White can do the job so you don't have to use another draft pick on a high-end running back, or you don't have to make an offer in free agency to a Tony Pollard who's a free agent. So it makes total sense for Zamir White to get a decent amount of touches this week. Jeff Wilson or Tyler Lockett, if no Josh Jacobs, I'm benching Antonio Gibson. Aaron Jones is healthy and good to go. I'd say Jeff Wilson. I think Tyler Lockett takes a back seat to DK Metcalf, so I would go Jeff Wilson. All right, just looking to see if there's any more updates on Josh Jacobs. I don't see any, so that's that's going to be one to watch for sure. That I'm going to have to, if there's any update tomorrow, I will definitely post that. Tomorrow, I'm going to do the handicap running back video, and I'm also going to take a look at the weather. There's a chance that there's a lot of rain that's going to be moving into the Northeast on Sunday. So we have to watch the rain and wind situation. Not sure about any snow. I'm going to, it's really kind of pointless to do the weather now, with the game still, 48 hours away. We all know how fickle the weather is. It could change on a moment's notice. And so I don't usually do the weather videos until first thing on Sunday morning. And, listen, if you're a Josh Allen owner like I was last year when you had to deal with that situation against the Patriots in that blizzard where Allen, his point total just crashed into the floor, that's the risk you run when you draft a quarterback in a cold weather environment. You could be in a fantasy playoffs with a top team, and then if a blizzard hits Buffalo and you own Josh Allen or you own Stephon Diggs and the passing game is grounded, well, then you're probably going to lose and you're going to have a really bad taste in your mouth the rest of the season. So that's why I always have a little bit of extra pause on drafting Josh Allen or even Stephon Diggs because of the extreme weather that they can get in the Northeast. Aaron Jones over 30 fantasy points against the Eagles. I'm calling it. Jonathan Taylor over 20 last week. Yeah, it's possible. The Eagles have been weird. They've hit a lull. I don't know if opposing teams are starting to figure them out defensively. Jalen Hurts has struggled a little bit. The offensive numbers are just not flowing like they were earlier in the season. So I'm a little bit down on this Eagles offense. A.J. Brown is sick. And truth be told, A.J. Brown has pretty much played like crap the last couple of weeks. Devontae Smith has been the one on top. And I did a video way back in, I think it was week 8, where talked about how Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown continue to alternate, putting forth the top point totals among Eagles wide receivers. And maybe too, the Dallas Goedert injury, that's impacting things as well. Thoughts on Corey Davis now that Zach Wilson's benched? John, I'm not using Corey Davis for sure. I have no interest in him. Zero. The only Jets receiver with Mike White I'm interested in is Elijah Moore. I'm not even interested really in the Jets overall as a whole. Aaron Jones is a freak of nature. Having him with Josh Jacobs has been money for, it's been great. Jones is still a little bit inconsistent week to week through no fault of his own because of, the stubborn refusal for the Packers to give him 20 plus carries a game, to still give A.J. Dillon a lot of carries. That's an issue there for sure. That I think that Jones certainly could have been better going forward, without Dillon in the way, or if, LaFleur would just give him more work. And I think LaFleur's in trouble. I don't know if he sees next season. So would you pick Moore over Wilson? Yes, Erwin, I would definitely pick Moore over Wilson. If Elijah Moore doesn't have a good game this week, then I give up. It's just not going to happen then. It's as simple as that. It's just not going to happen then. Elijah Moore, this season with the Jets. We've been waiting all season for it. Like it has to happen now, right? It's now or never. So we just have to see. So no other Aaron Jones, the only thing that's saving Aaron Rodgers having good set. Yeah, for sure. And I really think that I think that Aaron Jones should be catching more passes. I hate that they put A.J. Dillon around the goal line because I think Aaron Jones's versatility makes the Packers much harder to defend. Hold A.J. Dillon, Ed, you have to. I've held Rachaad White all season in both of my leagues. He's just been collecting cobwebs on the bench for the situation I'm dealing with now, with Leonard Fournette being out, because I have Fournette in both of the leagues as well. Same thing with A.J. Dillon. If Aaron Jones ever were to miss time, Dillon can be a strong running back too, just based on workload alone, goal line duties. And you know what? He has proven that he can catch the football in the past. So just like with Kareem Hunt, it's almost like you hold on to the guy for the whole season, break glass in case of emergency. That's what a Kareem Hunt is. That's what A.J. Dillon is. It's annoying having to keep a guy on a bench like that. But in Antonio Gibson too, yeah, you're right, Ed. Antonio Gibson for sure. So, it is annoying to have to do that for sure. I feel Raiders is going to have a running back committee if Jacobs go down. Yeah, that's why I said that Zamir White will be the runner and Amir Abdul is going to be the PPR back. A.J. Dillon literally has no value. Basically banking on Aaron Jones' injury. Same with Pollard. You're hoping for yes. At least Tony Pollard though is getting work. I mean, I think he had 17 carries yesterday, so that's a lot of work. A.J. Dillon, 7 to 10 carries. And again, you're only using him if Jones gets hurt. At least Pollard has standalone weekly value, even as a backup to Ezekiel Elliott. And let's face it, Elliott looks a little spry this season. He looks better than last year. I know he was injured last season. He had a good start to last season, and then he had a knee injury, and that kind of slowed him down the rest of the season. And dealing with another knee injury this season, he's older, he's aging. It is a valid concern for him going forward, but at least Elliott has been useful. Mooney or Hollywood Hollywood 100%. Darnell Mooney is going to have Sauce Gardner, Robert. And Sauce Gardner has lockdown receivers on a weekly basis. He did it to Stephon Diggs a few weeks ago. I think Diggs had like 14 fantasy points in the entire game. Didn't catch a pass for after halftime. So Sauce Gardner really did the job locking down Stephon Diggs. He's certainly going to do the same to Darnell Mooney. Elliott looked like his prime self against Giants. Yeah, he did. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, for sure. Start Rachaad White over Dameon Pierce. Yes, because he's going to catch passes that Dameon Pierce is not going to get. I hope Brandon Cooks gets some TDs with Kyle Allen at QB. I don't think the Texans are going to score a lot of TDs, Erwin, if any. But, it's possible Cooks becomes the preferred target and not Nico Collins. Nico Collins became the preferred top option for Davis Mills. Every quarterback is different. Maybe that will change for Brandon Cooks with Kyle Allen under center. You're welcome, Robert. Hollywood's not playing this week. They're waiting. So I don't think so, Death Lord. From all indications is that he is playing this week. Thoughts on CeeDee Lamb this season? End up trading him in PPR where they stack wide receiver. That just doesn't seem to get to a ceiling other than listen, CeeDee Lamb is a wide receiver 1 in fantasy, but I will say this. I don't think he's caught 80 passes in a season. And that's usually the standard in PPR leagues to be a wide receiver 1. But this season he's been excellent. He really has been. He's making big plays, he's scoring touchdowns, making crazy catches, piling up the yardage. The raw reception totals may never reach Davante Adams, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp territory, but he's been very good this season. And I'm a CeeDee Lamb owner, and generally I've been happy. But he doesn't reach the peaks often enough that a Davante Adams or a Stephon Diggs or a Cooper Kupp does. So us versus Jets is going to be a crazy fun matchup next week. Yes, for sure, Keenan. Thanks. Have a good night. You're welcome, Ed. You have a good night too. P. Ryan or Rachaad White on waivers? Rachaad White, 100%. Rachaad White could be a league winner. Mixon's coming back, so P. Ryan will go back to nothing. Rachaad White could be the starter the rest of the season. Hollywood is playing. Yes, he definitely is playing. Who do I pick up? Rachaad White, Eric, you got to pick him up. They said if Hollywood plays, he'll be on a snap count. I think that was for next week, Death Ford. I will look into that a little bit more. Thanks for man hard. Yeah, you're welcome, Eric. They said, yes, the head coach said that Hollywood Brown is playing. Yeah, he is playing. I think the snap count situation was for last week and not this week. But, again, I'll look into that. And if I have to do a separate video on that tomorrow, I certainly will. I will do that for sure. But, rest of season, I think Hollywood Brown's going to be great. I tried my best to trade for him in the last couple of weeks to buy low. Wasn't able to do it. I suggested to everybody who would listen, buy low on Hollywood Brown. He's going to really spike when the fantasy playoffs get here. And with Rondale Moore injured, with Zach Ertz out for the season, he's going to have a really good run there. I think Hollywood Brown could be a wide receiver, a high-end wide receiver 2 the rest of the way. I think DeAndre Hopkins will be the wide receiver 1. Hopkins has performed great. He's been unbelievable. Kyler Murray's going to be back this week, which will help. Hopkins is going to steal a lot of targets, and I mean a lot. Yeah, for sure. I think we analyzed his drop off last season. Maybe we created his obituary too early. DeAndre Hopkins last season, he's banged up. He had the steroid suspension. I'm sure not exactly sure what exactly happened there. But he has been unreal this season and a true difference maker in fantasy football. Turned leagues upside down. Is Dortch worth the ad? He catches all his targets. He's a game time decision, M. John. So if he plays, you could just pick him up maybe at the last minute. I don't think anybody's running out to pick up Greg Dortch just because right now he's listed as a game time decision. Start 2, half PPR, Rachaad White if Lenny out, and Lenny will be out. Pittman, Sutton if Judy out. Foreman, Olave, Juju. Wow, that's tough. I'd have to say Rachaad White and Juju Smith-Schuster with Pittman very close. I don't like Sutton. I think Sutton's lost a step. He's not generating that separation. Call it the Kenny Galladay syndrome. I love Juju Smith. He's an every week guy, Juju Smith-Schuster. I like him more than Olave. Hopkins still runs a show in Arizona. Yeah, he does. He definitely does. Although, like I said, I am curious, given the college connection between Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown, I am curious to see whether that dynamic supersedes, DeAndre Hopkins when he comes back. They have Hopkins, Chase, AJ Brown, Mike Williams, who's Jameson Williams. Yeah, listen, that Burks, you have a lot of good guys, Ed, no doubt about it. Keenan Allen, biggest draft bust. DeAndre Swift is a bigger draft bust. Jonathan Taylor was right there, but he's played well lately. And I still think Jonathan Taylor's, could win leagues if you held on to him. Just the talent is there, and it's obvious. Now that Matt Ryan's back under center, I think he can go ballistic the rest of the year. I really do believe that. Allen is up there, but he was a third-round pick. DeAndre Swift is a bigger fantasy bust for sure. Kyle Pitts is right there, too, as a third-round draft bust. Any update on Jamar Chase? And I think Pitts is a bigger bust than Allen because spending a third on the tight end is worse value-wise, and it hurts you more than drafting a wide receiver because you can get wide receivers later in the draft that can help you. You can't do that with tight ends. Any updates on Jamar Chase? Joe Burrow says he's playing. Head coach is being mum. Oh, I think he's playing. The only thing we don't know is if he's going to be on a snap count. Swift was the worst pickup for me. Yeah, DeAndre Swift ruined. DeAndre Swift absolutely took his fantasy owners down into the gutter. Is AJ Brown still a must start this week? Illness news is weird and tired of being let down by Jalen Hurts. Oh, yeah, man. I tell you what, AJ Brown, Tiger doesn't change his stripes. He's the same inconsistent guy that can break fantasy football one week and then completely shit the bed the following week. That's his MO in Tennessee. It's been his MO in Philadelphia. He's sick, but he's playing. Does he have COVID? Who knows? All these guys, it's non-COVID illness now. Give me a break. But George, I'm down on him too for sure. And Jalen Hurts is a vulture. He calls his own number around the red zone, which is certainly annoying. And one thing, by the way, as a Tony Pollard owner, I was going to post this yesterday. Every time Ezekiel Elliott scores a touchdown from in close, it is a stab in the heart as a Tony Pollard owner. Correct? I get that feeling every time as a Pollard owner. It's like a shot in my heart when Ezekiel Elliott scores. It's just rough, man. Would you start Morrow over Juwan Johnson? No, I would not. I go with Juwan Johnson. He's been very good. Start Antonio Gibson or White. I'm going Rachaad White. Oh, boy, the chat's going fast now. Pick two, Rachaad White, Jeff Wilson, or Kamara. Oh, God, that's hard. God, I'd say Rachaad White and Kamara because they're like the same player. All right, guys, remember, if I missed your question, just put it in a super chat. And again, I appreciate any support, or just post it again. If Josh Jacobs plays and we find out before noon, do you trust him or do I start Jeff Wilson? I would trust him. If he plays, I would go with Josh Jacobs. I can't wait till next season when the fantasy experts talk to Kyle Pitts and Trey Lance. No, I don't want either guy. I didn't want either guy this season. I told you to draft Trey Lance only as a backup, a high upside backup, which he was. Kyle Pitts, same thing. I'm not in on him next year. It's going to be Desmond Ridder, who has the same pure passing question marks that Marcus Mariota has. No, thank you. Would you play Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins? Samuel, because he takes handoffs. 1,000% Zeke is washed. I don't agree. I think he looks pretty good. He showed good speed yesterday. His legs look pretty good. He's cashing in around the red zone. I don't agree with that one. I don't think he's washed. Is he a running back one? No. But is he a strong running back two? Yeah, I think so. Disrespect last Sunday against the Colts, where the commentators literally circled A.J. Brown's one-on-one coverage in the red zone. Then Hurts proceeds to call his number and runs. Yeah, I agree, George, for sure. 17 points and half PPR looked pretty good yesterday. Yeah, listen, that looked good to me. Now, Zeke, I don't think he's watched this yet. He looked like he was in his prime yesterday against the Giants. That could have been a barrage. Yeah, it could be a mirage. I think so. I think that he's not washed. I don't believe that. I can't get on that train yet with Ezekiel Elliott. I just don't see him being washed. Hey man, wondering Kamara in a tough matchup or Rachaad White, Lenny's out, full PPR. Yeah, listen, they're the same player. Kamara has a very tough matchup. It's not been good lately for him. I'm gonna go Rachaad White. Balls to the wall, man. Rachaad White. I'm all in on him. And if it doesn't work out, I will come up here. I'll do a video and stand up and take the hit. 100%. I took the hit on Kyron Williams a couple of weeks ago when he put up 7 fantasy points in garbage time. I'll do the same thing this week if Rachaad White doesn't go nuts. I think he's running for 100 yards. I absolutely can see 100 yards. I'm going to say now, let's see. 115 yards rushing, 4 receptions for 30 yards. There you go. Put it in ink. Guy tried to fleece me. He wanted Travis Kelce and Tony Pollard was offering Amari Cooper, Gerald Everett, and Ezekiel Elliott. Hell no. Hell no. Yeah, he was definitely trying to fleece you 100%. That's a pretty bad offer if you ask me. But then again, we're all trying to screw each other, right? I mean, every trade I offer, I'm trying to screw the other guy and just trying to make it look good, like window dressing, right? That's generally how it goes. We all want to screw each other and come out on top. All right, guys, make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the notification button, and also bop that like button if you can. I'd really appreciate that. I'm going to be jumping off soon because it's starting to get a little bit late. This is, wow, an hour and a half. This is one of the longest streams I've ever done. Travis Kelce is worth 4 top players at least. That's all. Yeah, you know what? Travis Kelce is impossible to replace. He truly is. With Mark Andrews having a little bit of a rough season with the injuries, Travis Kelce is on a tier all by himself. Super Bowl prediction, Bills, 49ers. I like 49ers Chiefs. That's my Super Bowl prediction. Boss, but the hell no. Yeah, no. I got to call it the way I see it. So here's what I was thinking. So I've been doing the Thursday live streams. I've been toying with the idea of doing a Sunday stream with all the games on. I don't know if that would be something you guys would be interested in. It's going to be a lot. I'll probably be on fumes by the time it's over. And then I wouldn't do the wrap-up stream. I would just do the all-day 1 to 7 live stream. It would be like insanely long. But you guys can pop in and out when you want. So I was thinking of doing that. I'm going to have all the games on. The instant injury videos, I wouldn't really need to do them at that point. I'm not sure. I'm not sold on that idea. The injury impact, the instant injury videos have been like the calling card of the channel. So I'm not sure I'm willing to do that yet, but I'm toying with the idea. Only I would trade Kelce if the guy offered Justin Jefferson, Deebo, Chase, and Cooper. Yeah, 100%. All right, it seems like y'all want me to do it. I like I said, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do like partial. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe the 4:00 games. I'm not sure. Najee or P Ryan full PPR. I'd have to say Najee just because Jaylen Warren's not going to play. Yeah, Del J all day stream. I thought it might be too much. Maybe I'll just jump in. I'm not sure. I would think you'd get exhausted, but I'd be all for it. Yeah. It sounds like one of those things that sounds like a better idea on paper or in my brain than when I actually do it. Because I've been on here now for an hour and a half, and my voice is starting to get a little hoarse. So 6 hours, I'm not sure if that would work. So maybe I'll just table that one. How about this? Maybe the fantasy football Super Bowl. How about that? We'll do this. The fantasy football Super Bowl week, I'll do the live stream then all day. I'll make sure I drink a lot of water and have myself ready to go for that one. That I think would be a good idea. Rashad Wallace. I don't remember Rashad. I don't know who that is. Rashad Wallace. I don't remember that one. Travis Kelce gets at least 100 yards receiving. Yeah. 3 touchdowns last game. It was ridiculous. I'm going to go back and rewatch the stream, but it's Zamir Abdullah for Jacobs. Zamir standard, Abdullah for PPR. I would just say Abdullah was passing, but Zamir a Walker 3. Michael P. I think Zamir is the runner. And again, they declined Jacobs' option for next year. So they need to take a look at Zamir White, see if he could be the guy. That sounds good. Super Bowl week. No, I'm thinking, Eldad, yes, Super Bowl fantasy week. That sounds like a good one. That I can do. We could all live and die together. Hopefully I'm in the Super Bowl in one of my leagues. And that way I can scream and yell and curse if I lose and bask in euphoria if I win. And here's the thing too. I don't know who posted this, but I thought this was a really good idea. if you're in a high stakes league and you win a lot of money, now I'm not talking about like small stakes leagues where you win a couple $100, but there's a lot of high stakes leagues, and I'm in one of them. If you win like thousands of dollars during the fantasy championship week, your highest scoring player, and if you win a high stakes league, thousands of dollars, I'm talking about, your highest scoring player that week, the Super Bowl week, you donate a small portion to charity, their charity. So if, let's say AJ Brown balls out, gets you the most fantasy points in the fantasy football championship, and you win thousands of dollars, if he has a registered charity, you donate some money to his charity. I thought that was a great idea. I don't know. I just wanted to pass that to you. If Travis Kelce goes down, do you think it kills the Chiefs playoff chance? Yes. If Travis Kelce's down, it's over for Kansas City. Boss, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, JL. Pat D took a big dump on me last night. Yeah, I mean, that was brutal. Prime time, Kirk Cousins came to play. Yeah, how about that? Kirk Cousins in prime time. Who would have thought that on the biggest stage you can get outside of the Super Bowl? Is it Dumpsville for Pat D? It might be. I would play matchups every week. It's hard playing unless you have Dallas, and I have Dallas defense, and they only gave me 8 fantasy points against the Giants. I thought it was going to be more. It's hard to do that. Evans or Pierce, half PPR, definitely Evans. Hell no, they make millions, and you want me to donate if I win $2,000? Yeah, okay. Austin, I mean their charity, not them. Their charity. So, if Boys and Girls Club, whatnot, I think it's a good idea. That's just my opinion. I did that one year, where Saquon Barkley absolutely won me a league, and he had like 140 rushing yards in the fantasy Super Bowl, and I donated some money to a charity he supported. So that's just me. Made me feel good. You could say that they're overpaid and that, whatnot. I disagree, but I respect your opinion. Mac was fun. Yeah, Mac Jones was really good. If he gets protection like Jared Goff, he can carve up anybody. Jefferson is a beast. Jefferson's not fair. I drafted him 4th overall in one league, and I did wind up trading him, believe it or not, in that league. I don't know if I remember telling you guys this, and it's kind of worked out. I traded Jefferson at the time. It was what was it? It was Jefferson and Darren Waller for CeeDee Lamb and Aaron Jones. So it's worked out for me. Lamb's been good. Jefferson's been a beast, but Waller's been a bust. So it turned out to be a good trade for me. I hated trading Jefferson, but I was a trade I had to do. He passed Randy Moss for sure. Tremendous player, just a great player. Better to stream versus keeping Pat's defense. You got to stream defenses for sure. As Saquon, I don't know why the Giants refused to give to him a first and goal, call QB sneak every time instead. Also, the last in garbage touchdown to Richie. Yeah, I mean, that's tough, man. I agree. The usage was a little strange yesterday. Do you like guys in a contract year strategy in fantasy? Jacobs, it's worked out. Lamar Jackson, it hasn't. It's listen, Death Lord, it could either really work out or it could, the guy feels the pressure and it just doesn't work. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. I don't think there's enough of a trend where it works or it doesn't work. I also traded JJ for Jamar, Monty, and Mostert. It was right after Javonte went down. Listen, Jamar's every bit as good as Justin Jefferson, maybe slightly Jefferson's better. So you can't beat yourself up over that. I don't like Monty, but Mostert was having, somewhat of a decent year. So I understand your reasoning there. I traded Kirk Cousins to this guy who needed a QB 2 or 3 weeks ago for Rashad White. Okay, listen, Cousins wasn't playing well up until yesterday. So, Austin, that was a fine deal to make. You worried about Saquon rest of the season? Yes, George. Did you see the crisis point video I did today? Make sure you go back and watch that. Jamar Chase is better than Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp and Guy, and prove me wrong. No, you're definitely. I don't like that comparison. I think Justin Jefferson is better than Jamar Chase, but not by a lot. Traded Monty for Najee last week. Both boring guys, Austin. But I guess I slightly like Najee a little bit better than Monty, but I really don't like either one, to be honest with you. I think that both guys have seen better days. All right. I think I'm going to end it there, guys. It's been an hour and a half stream. Really good stream tonight. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys, for the super chats and the PayPal donations. That's always extremely appreciated. I'm really happy about that. Happy about your support in general. The streams are always going to be free, so don't ever worry about that. The channel's growing fast, and thanks to all of you guys. So tomorrow I'm going to be putting up some more videos. The next stream will be Sunday, maybe in the morning. I always like to do maybe a small stream Sunday morning, but definitely the wrap-up show Sunday night. So make sure you look for that. Everybody have a great Friday night, and we will all talk soon. Take care, everybody.